Welcome to the Glitter Boom Girls podcast. I'm Robbie Ann McPherson on the East Coast.
And I'm Amy Asbury on the West Coast.
This is kind of a strange episode today.
Is it?
I think so, because it's a little bit of a crazy format, but we're hoping that you guys will enjoy it and follow along with us and think about your own kind of circumstances. So we're going to talk today about pop culture that changed our DNA, like for better or for worse. The movies, the music, the TV shows, something that just shifted, like what do they call that? A continental shift, in your entire outlook on life. Maybe it changed you with a habit or, something, and maybe it sent you down a wrong path. So I think both of us have those types of stories. So Aim, let's start with you.
Oh.
What comes to mind? Like, what's the first, sort of era and thing and pop culture, media, whatever, that comes to mind when I say to you, what pop culture changed your DNA?
The earliest thing, I don't know why I'm going chronologically, but the first thing I think of is Sesame Street, which came out in 1969. And I think because there wasn't anything in my damn house and it was boring, and we did not have a TV for some time when I was very young. And when we got it, it was for grown-ups. And I'm talking 2, 3, I don't remember, or maybe it was in my parents' room, okay? Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a lot of exposure to TV, which means the only thing in my sight was my living room, okay? When you get the TV, you see a little box to different places, right? So the next thing I knew, the Buckwheat's version of TV came toward me. Mm-hmm. No, not cartoons. Cartoons came later, but something that was educational, which meant no guilt for my mother. Sesame Street. She was like, oh, she's going to learn.
It's good.
So I see Oscar the Grouch, who sounded just like my Uncle Bob, who was always complaining about. So I thought, oh, is that Uncle Bob in a can? Like, what's going on? The affable Big Bird, the friendly Big Bird, Barkley the dog, Grover. I just saw all these different personality types, all these colors, all these shapes, these big foam puppets. I thought, okay, that guy they don't like because he's rude. Because this stuff sunk in. Oh, got it. Oh, this guy's more friendly. He's got more friends. So I saw all these different types of personalities. And they were not my favorite thing ever. I wasn't like, oh, I love Sesame Street. It was just the first thing that let me see something other than my living room. So that, and also the numbers, and, they kind of showed you different jobs people had. Right. Here's a factory in Queens. I was like, wait, what?
Here's how they make saltwater taffy.
You're correct. So that really changed me in the fact that I saw that there was so much out there in the world. But as far as music, there's a certain time when you hear a song, and it's, throughout your life, you hear your parents' music and whatever's on in the background. But when I heard in 1979, Heart of Glass by Blondie. Yep. I was only 6, you guys, but I thought, whoa, wait a second. I just stopped. And of course, I've described to you guys after that, I really got into music when I heard Michael Jackson's Billie Jean in 1983 in 4th grade.
The bass line.
I was the bass line.
Right.
I've told you guys about that. And when, that's when I started thinking, I want to find my own music, but it was really Blondie, Call Me, and Heart of Glass. That was my very first. It had an impact on me as to where, okay, what else is out there in this music? I get to choose something I like. I actually like that.
Like she kind of kicked you into, modern music kind of thing, like rock and roll and pop music. And
it did. And I will say another television show that came out in 1969, coincidentally, was the Brady Bunch, which was always on in the background of my life. Mm-hmm. And is it some great show? No. but it always gave me a rundown of what was expected to happen at each age and also possible scenarios and how to handle them. For instance, would I go on a TV show like Cindy and become conceited and then freeze once the camera turned on me and humiliate myself? Would I try and win the world record for seesawing and then fall asleep? You know, if I became a snooper.
Would you fall in love with your dentist and
Right.
think that you were going to marry him? Right.
You know, Marcia has a sleepover. Oh, that's what a sleepover is going to look like when I'm that old.
Right.
The attic. Oh, that's a possibility for a new room. Oh, that's a teenager thing. Oh, braces. What's that? Oh my gosh, I might have to get braces. Glasses. You know, Jan gets glasses. So I saw all these scenarios to where like, okay, it's a playbook of American life. These are the possibilities. So that sunk in. And, you know, and later when you get glasses, all right, I had Jan's experience through Jan, you know, so I kind of thought,
Right.
oh, I'm supposed to think I'm ugly right now, you know, so those are some of the things that
I would
sunk
say
in.
I would take issue though with saying that it wasn't a good show because
No, it was, but it wasn't like
but-
Masterpiece Theater, but I loved it.
but that's just it. Like, you know, not everything should be judged by Masterpiece Theater, right? Not everything
Of
should
course.
be judged by Shakespeare or, you know, it won an Oscar or whatever.
It won an
That,
yeah,
you
it
know,
did not win any Emmys that I know of, but I really loved watching life through all of those different characters, and it did make me feel prepared in some way for life.
yeah, and to me, that qualifies it for a certain type of really good show because it meant that the way that they did the show, the characters we cared about, the issues were, excuse me, the issues were relevant. They, even years later, you think about stuff. When I think about the Brady Bunch, I'll tell you where it rearranged my DNA. The Aunt Jenny episode, where here's Aunt Jenny. She's a spinster, played by Imogene Coca, and Jan finds a picture in the attic that looks just like her, but it's like an old picture. And she's like, Mom, I don't remember getting this picture taken. And Florence Henderson, you know, Carol goes, oh no, that's your Aunt Jenny. So now Jan wants to meet Aunt Jenny because she wants to see what she's going to grow up to look like. Well, here comes Imogene Coca, right? Not a traditional beautiful woman. And Jan, Imogene Coca happens to visit, right? Or no, she sent a letter. That's right. She sent a letter and a picture. And Jan got all upset and was like, oh my God, that's what I'm going to look like. And she ran upstairs. And then here comes Aunt Jenny on a surprise visit in her limousine. And she shows up and she brings the kids all these weird gifts from like places far and wide.
Her travels, her jet-setting life.
Yeah, like her African whatever horn or something. And, you know, oh, and these are beads from whatever. And the kids are all like, wow, oh my God, you know, Aunt Jenny's so cool. And she kind of teaches Jan that there are alternatives to, you know, just getting married and, you know, having kids and doing that kind of life. And Aunt Jenny's like, hey man, I'm happy. Like I never got married and I could have.
That episode gutted me. I felt so bad I got it immediately, even as a little kid, how cool Aunt Jenny was.
Right.
And I felt so embarrassed for Jan, and it broke my heart.
Yeah. But the way that it really shook me was I realized, even at, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old, watching those reruns, I realized I would rather have Aunt Jenny's life than Carol's. And
Carol's was so boring.
Well, but I don't want to say that with judgment, because there's such a coziness and a warmth and a love, you know, with all that. But I'm just saying, for me, as a little kid, I didn't identify with Carol. I didn't identify with having kids and being a mom and all that. To me, there is nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful and everything.
It's really fun, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Carol herself, I just think of Carol in that orange kitchen and how Alice does everything. I'm like, what does Carol do? I always thought, like, what does she do?
I know, you don't work. What the hell do you do all day?
I don't mean it as in general. The whole thing is boring.
You know, they did have 6 kids.
But Carol, I just thought, gosh, she doesn't look like she does much. I thought
Um,
Alice had a better life, but anyway,
yeah, well, Alice, yeah, she lived in that little room and, behind the kitchen, which I always
she
found
read
kind of
novels
weird.
back there.
Yeah. She had a boyfriend, Sam the Butcher. No, no, but I remember that episode and thinking to myself, I want that life. Like I want Henry Kissinger calling me on the phone and like, some limousine taking me around. Now, of course, the cruel irony is that I got neither. I got
Wait.
neither Aunt Jenny or Carol Brady because who knows where,
Well, your
my
life is not a script from Sherwood Schwartz, so
but damn it, I thought it was going to be.
I
I
know, I
really did.
know.
But in any case, that's the whole point. It's like that show. Um, I really hate culture snobs. I really have a hard time with culture snobs who just think that because something is popular or mainstream or because it doesn't make you think about serious, sad, important things, that it's not a worthy entertainment vehicle because that show still endures to this day. Obviously, the themes resonate with people. Like you said, they actually taught you things. Like, how sneaky is it to have a TV show that teaches kids to be good people and morality and
And
to
you know
do the right
what?
thing?
You might have a clay volcano spray lava all over snobby popular girls from the Booster Club when you're Marcia
Well,
in high school.
hello. I mean, see our Easter episode, right? Where we talk about me and my leaving a leaving a
A
hard-boiled
rotten
egg
ass
in my
egg in your
desk over
desk.
Easter vacation. I mean, I learned from those shows that you don't really need to be ashamed about anything, and it's like if they make fun of you, then they're not your real friends, and real people see the real you. So I think that those things are incredibly valuable, and that show, just because the humor was kind of basic and the stories were sort of like bold primary colors. It wasn't like
But I
shades of
loved,
gray.
well, Buddy Hinton. Was that the bully? Baby talk. It's a wonder you can walk. Like Cindy had a lisp and that little
Right.
dumb bully. I was like, ooh, a bully. And then lo and behold,
Seven
there's the school
swans are
bully.
swimming.
Yeah, so all much of it happened. So it's kind of so
Right.
yes, I love Brady Bunch, but I know people, well, maybe people won't. Maybe people who listen to this show will agree with me.
Yeah.
Was
And
there Oh, go ahead. Was there a certain sitcom or movie that just completely changed your way of looking at the world?
oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. I changed how I looked at the world like probably, every 6 months because
Okay.
I was so obviously music was the first thing. Like when I was little, I little, I understood or felt something when I listened to certain music, and I just always have been really reactive to it. And some people are, some people aren't, and I'm just one of those people that are.
What
But
was played in the home? Did your parents have 8 tracks or records that they played in the background of
oh
your
yeah,
life?
oh
What
yeah,
what
my
what were they?
dad, hi daddy, he listens to us by the way. So does my mom.
Hi, Pops.
Oh
Hello,
no,
Mommy.
Robbie. So my dad is a big music fan.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, I remember 3, 4 years old, he had a reel to reel tape deck, which had this live Ike and Tina Turner concert on it. And he used to,
Wow.
he'd fire that thing up and we would listen to Ike and Tina Turner. And he had this hi fi stereo system that he brought back with him from Vietnam. My dad's a Vietnam
Wow.
vet. And this, these giant speakers and like this whole thing. And so he was always listening to rock and roll. He loved the blues based stuff, Rolling Stones and all that. And so I definitely grew up on that. And I think that that's where I first heard all that stuff and found out like, wow, when I listen to this music, like some of these songs I just love and I love where they take me. So I think that was the first one. And then the second one, it's probably a bit of a tie between Star Wars and Xanadu, where I saw this movie in Star Wars. And you know, back then, I think we've talked about this before, but back then you have to understand in context, no one had really done anything like Star Wars before that. And a movie that had so much heart and the mythology of the story and, the anti-hero and the reluctant hero, all this stuff, and the music, and that movie was just, it was so many things that came together into this perfect storm. So I remember seeing that the first time and just going, holy mother of God, I want to do this every week. I want to see movies like this every week. I want to feel like this every week. Like, it was so exciting, and it was suspenseful, and I had a crush on Luke Skywalker, and so it was like 20 million emotions within 2 hours. So I really fell in love with movies when I saw Star Wars, and then comes Xanadu.
Now, we know how you feel about
right?
Xanadu.
I mean, I was 11 or 12 when Xanadu came out, and Mom dropped me off at the mall, and I went to the mall, and handed my little $5 over the counter. I think the tickets were like $1.50, and I was blown away. Like, the music, the colors in the movie, the roller skating. Olivia Newton-John was so beautiful in that movie.
ONJ, yes.
Right? ONJ. I mean, just an absolute icon. And then you had Gene Kelly in the movie, and I loved Gene Kelly because when I was real little, I watched Singing in the Rain. And
that's what you were saying, yes.
Yeah, and I saw it a couple times, and so I was an absolute freak about Gene Kelly. So here's all these great things in this movie together, and once again, I realized, holy cow, like, art can take you somewhere. The movies can take you someplace, and it was so exciting to find that. It's like finding a new drug, but a drug that isn't bad for you, So I really fell in love with the music and the movies, and when you put them together in the right way and all that. And I know people malign Xanadu, whatever. I don't care. I know that it affected me so positively, and I still love it to this day. When I'm really dealing with something that I can't do anything about, stressing out or whatever, I pop that in on my giant TV and crank up the sound bar. And I mean, by the time it's over, it's like a balm, over whatever's ailing you at that moment. So that was another one. Sesame Street, I got to go back to that though, because that was a big one to me too. Sesame Street taught me a lot.
Right.
It taught me, I understood so much, especially about numbers and math from Sesame Street, right?
Yeah, that's the whole side note, that it actually really did teach us quite a bit.
Yeah. It prepared me for school, and then, the reading comprehension and things like that it taught me. And Sesame Street also had some not as heavy, I think, as like Brady Bunch or other sitcoms and stuff, but there were a lot of kind of moral lessons in Sesame Street. The biggest one being teaching kids that about racial equality, and that it didn't matter if you were white or black or Latino, whatever. Kids are kids and people are people, and just because a culture's different than yours, it doesn't mean
it was
that.
So multicultural.
Yeah. And growing up in Buffalo, which was kind of a homogenous area where I was, in the suburbs and stuff, like I wasn't exposed to international cultures or people too much. So I remember watching Sesame Street and just thinking, like, there was one episode in particular where they showed how they made corn tortillas. And I was like, that is the coolest shit I've ever seen. And talking a lot about Mexican culture and Mexican American culture. And I just thought it was so neat. So I think that programs like that, people maybe underestimate the power of them to do good. People talk a lot about the media and what the media can do to divide us and blah, 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 But back then, that was such a force for good. And I still think to this day that it influenced my, my thoughts about all of us are equal and or should be equal and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a game changer for me. But what about the dark side? What about, what spun you off into like some dark orbit?
I feel like I've spoke of this before, but the album Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, July 1987. When I heard that,
welcome to the jungle, baby.
I said, I am not turning back. I've made my decision. I'm bored. I'm turning to the dark side. I want to know what they're talking about. What is this Mr. Brownstone, which is like heroin, of course. I never tried heroin, but what is this? What is this stuff? I wanted to know what they were talking about. And same thing with Beastie Boys' License to Ill. I wanted to know what these references were. What are these references? So I would listen and try to and I'd write in a little notebook, okay, what is this? And Night Train, I want to try this Night Train. So it really.
No, you don't.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I think I blacked out when I actually tried Night Train and woke up with like sequins all over me. Like, I don't know, in my friend's apartment with like some Dalmatians walking around. Yeah, if you have, your family's broken. My mother was very depressed. I was kind of by myself, and I got a hold of that, and it was on. It was on.
Wow.
What about you?
It was probably about the same era for me, but a different kind of music, because I was a little bit older than you, around then, 83, 84. And as I talked before, I got this job at this nightclub, and I was
Love
16.
That story.
And I had two jobs.
So funny.
I worked at a record store, which was like, I basically, it was like the Blues Brothers. Like at the end of the day, I owed them money because, I just spent my paycheck every week on records. But then I worked at this teen nightclub. It was a non-alcoholic nightclub. And the only reason it was non-alcoholic is because they couldn't get their liquor license yet. So they just basically made a quote unquote teen nightclub until they got their liquor license.
And this is where you, at 16, became a bouncer in the woman's room and had to put up your foot against the door frame so people could not too many women would come in at once.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I was a little older by the time I was promoted to bathroom bouncer. But I started out working in the coat check room.
The coat check. Okay.
At this teen nightclub. And and so that was the first place I was introduced to like club life.
Wow.
And the music was 80s club music. Which was really cool. Like a lot of, Grandmaster Flash and then also new wave, New Order and crazy 12-inch stuff coming from London and, all this. And that whole movement, just that whole club culture in the 80s, I've never done illegal drugs in my life. I've never even tried like cocaine or even marijuana. I never have, but it was all around me there. And the people that were doing it, obviously they were not, they didn't have goals like I had. They didn't want to go to college and get a job and do, make something of their lives. All they thought about was like tonight. And, that was it.
I can relate. I was one of those people.
Yeah.
I wasn't a druggie, but I felt like, I'm going to be dead any day now. So tonight, let's have fun.
Yeah.
So I can relate.
Yeah. It was a strange place for me to be as a suburban girl, right? Because on the one hand, it was so exciting. It was different. And I found I related a lot more to these kids because my family was broken, and a lot of the suburban families, like we were like the first ones on our block, to get a divorce. So I think for me, it was like, wow, these kids understand the pain I'm in. And I I'm not sure if it's my upbringing, nature, nurture, whatever it is, that made me still stay on the straight and narrow. But I will say this: I spent probably 3 years of my life, just going out dancing like all the time, and I didn't really know what to do with school, and I was really lost for about 3 years there. Just just kind of. And meanwhile, these other kids, if their lives were falling apart, they didn't care,
Right.
And I don't know. I often wonder. I often look back and wonder if I had not gotten that job and if I had done something else, or just worked at the record store or something, if I wouldn't have wasted 3-4 years bumbling around and screwed up my first couple of years in college and made some dumb decisions about careers and all that. Like, I definitely think that era where I fell in love with club culture, like, it was just dumb.
You think it's dumb? I see it as being one of the people. I was in a suburban area and I was one of the very, very, very troubled kids who made their way out to Hollywood to be with people more like myself.
Yeah.
And I felt so much less judged and I felt so much love and everyone was just laughing and everybody kind of had a terrible life. And we were mixed in with people that were genuinely trying to get record deals and were genuinely interested in music. We were mixed in with those people. But those of us that were just friends of the crowd were people that lived near, were bored, and hated their lives and just went out and did crazy things. There was always like a brick was always flying by or a giant knife fight. It was very, very crazy, as I've told you guys. But there's a lot of things I wish I'm not one of those people that's like, everything made me who I am today.
Oh, no, I am not that person.
I'm not that person either, but I do feel like spending time with people who are not from the suburbs has helped me as an adult to be able to relate to many different types of people at many jobs, at many, places of business, all kinds of things. And I feel like it's helped me be more socially intelligent, having dealt with people like that and seeing the other side.
I agree. I agree 100%. It gives you a wisdom and insight, and I think we're kind of similar in that way. Like, we were both suburban kids, but we didn't really fit into that mold. And back then, there very much was a certain type. There was like a suburban type and suburban life, and then other things. They were real split up. But I can list. I remember, I don't know, 20 years ago, I had this horrible boyfriend who shall remain nameless. He was just such a abusive narcissist, and the beginning of a few. But I remember him saying to me once, this was out in LA, he said, do you have any regrets?
You're all, yeah, your ass, motherfucker.
No.
Well,
no. I only dated him for like 2 months, thank God, maybe 3 months, I think. But because I was wise enough to realize that he was like a train to nowhere. But I said to him, I thought about it and I was like, and I think we were like at El Pollo Loco or no, we were at Paquito Mas, and he's like, well, do you have any regrets? And I'm like sipping my soda, like, And then I launched into this like 20-minute dissertation about, when my brother passed away and when, my grandparents and when my parents divorced, and I wish that I had done this. And then I got into the whole nightclub thing. I wish I hadn't wasted my time with these people, and I should have been more dedicated in college, and I should have picked a different major, and I could have been a lawyer. Like, I went on this whole thing, and I finished, and I said, what about you? And he goes, geez, I was just going to say I regret not playing basketball my senior year.
Wow.
And that was my first clue.
Wow.
That I was like, not everyone looks at their life like I do.
I do think the club people, we'll call them club people, but they turned into a certain type of person. Some of them became suburbanites again with a crazy past, but some of them you come across today and you can see life from their eyes when they're looking at you. They're looking at you like, oh, you're one of those people and you're going to report me to my manager and you're going to be a jerk. You can kind of see life from their eyes, some of these people. And you deal with them in a different way. You give them a little more love sometimes. You're like, you know what? I know your type. I know your type.
There's something behind that attitude.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was all worth it. I definitely purposely got into trouble. Purposely. I can't blame my parents. I could have been like, hey, I don't want to be like them at all, and been really straight and narrow. But my dad was off the wall, and I decided to go off the wall also, just because I thought, you know what? I thought I would end my own life like soon. So I thought, you know what? Let me just mess around a little bit first. And I wanted to write, ever since the Judy Blume books became encoded in my DNA, as I've told you all, I knew I would write. And I always thought, I've got nothing to write about. I need to go look around. I'm in LA. So I wanted to go kind of look around and research all these things. And I remember just not caring. As I've told you guys before, I just didn't kind of care what happened. So I got to see many, many interesting things, and the way many interesting people lived their lives that I got to write about. And some of it, was it worth it for the material? Probably not. But it was very interesting. It was very interesting. And I still became who I was supposed to be in the end. It's not that I'm at my end, but I still came back around.
You became a writer, and you've published many books, including some that detail. Talk for a second about like Sunset Strip Diaries and Confetti Covered Quicksand, because those things grew out of that.
It was me looking around LA and looking at these really beautiful people, or these really interesting people with interesting points of view, and many of them from different states who came out here, had the nerve to come out and try to make something of themselves. So they shared that with each other, that they were all the type of person that were courageous. So they were interesting people. Wow, they're making it on their own. How are they making a living? And some of the ways they made a living were very, very unconventional, not necessarily good or bad, but just different ways how they made a living. It was interesting to see how people got to their dreams, or just stayed alive. It was very interesting to watch people do this. So I wrote about different people in the clubs, brushes with celebrities, kind of what it was like to be one of those people, and what you needed to do to get into these clubs in Los Angeles, and how you needed to look, and how that affected you. Gosh, you got to look this certain way, and if you don't, you're going to get snubbed, or you're not allowed in. What does that do to you psychologically? And some of the things these women who I was around, the things they had to do for work. Some of it was humiliating. Some of it, so it was just interesting to take a look into these people's lives that were very unlike my own on one hand, and also shared some similarities with me on the other. So it's kind of like I'm a spy almost in these books. And I came home and I wrote, which is why people are like, how do you remember what outfit you were wearing? Well, I wrote it all down. I came home and I wrote everything down, what happened, what we were all wearing. You guys know I always want to know what Robbie was wearing. And these books are just kind of like little diaries of the 90s. I hadn't seen any books on this era, so I wrote some. So that's what that's about.
Check them out. Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. Amy's a great writer. You really are. You have a great voice. Like, it's very unique.
Thanks.
And it is really interesting how seductive a certain kind of that culture can be, because it's all wrapped up in things. Like they say, the devil doesn't appear to you as a monster. He appears to you as everything you always wanted, right? And when you fall into something like that, I loved the music, and I loved the funky, hair and like the MTV punk
The
hair.
fashion was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
fun. Yeah,
To me, that
so
was all so
fun.
cool. And I wanted to be Madonna. I wanted to be Debbie Harry. I just thought all that stuff was so neat. And when I was in these clubs and dancing and the music was loud and, I loved it. But obviously, that kind of culture also lends itself to people abusing a lot of drugs. And the drugs seem to be what took most of the people out that I knew. And it's just a really tough scenario. And, who knows why certain people make it and don't. But I just know that when I look at that, I think, my gosh, how close I came to, sort of getting seduced by all of that smoke and mirrors, because that's really all it is. And I don't know anything about cultures like, being an Olympic athlete or something like that. Probably
Mm-hmm.
is smoke and mirrors in a way. And it's like my whole philosophy of life, which is
Hmm.
we are all full of shit. That is
That's
it.
your philosophy. Mine is that we are in a school.
Yeah, yeah. I'm okay with that. I think they can coexist because my point
Okay.
is none of us has the answer. My point is we're all sort of fronting, we're all kind of scared and pretending and fumbling around in the dark and trying to find our way. And if you can't admit that, that's where you fall into a bad pattern. Because if you can't say, wow, I'm hurt, I'm scared, I'm lost, and you don't know how to admit that to yourself, not necessarily to the world, but at least to
Mm-hmm.
yourself, you have a real problem. And so I think anybody that says, "Oh yeah, I have all the answers and I know," they don't know. But
Yeah, but to themselves, I really separate myself from when I see somebody getting like that. I always think it has nothing to do with me. And you can go ahead and think whatever you would like. I'm in my class. Like I can't look and see what Bobby and Cindy got on the test. I really don't care. It doesn't really have anything to do with me.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, I think there are certain things in my history that made me prone to comparison, and I
Mm.
am by nature just not a competitive person. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
not. Hey, you win, I win. Who cares? Like I'm just not.
Well, you might be winning in one way and losing in another where someone else has the opposite happening.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. I
So,
don't see it as a zero sum scenario. But
yeah.
even like if I go bowling with people,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people get really upset if they perform poorly. I will bowl a friggin' 40. And I'll be like, yeah, okay, so let's get some fries. And, like, I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's not that, it doesn't matter that much to me. And if it matters that much to someone else, fine, they can take it. But
Yeah, they can. It doesn't bother me unless it's wasting my time. People are on their own paths and they're working at their own pace. So, whatever, maybe you didn't get there yet to show that to say that you're full of shit. Maybe you haven't gotten there yet. Maybe you'll get there next year.
right.
Or it's all, it's self-paced.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to know though, what pulled you out of it? Was it culture that pulled you out of it? Was there an incident? What made you
Yes, too
save
many
yourself?
deaths. When my best friend overdosed and died, because I always thought, okay, if she is still alive, I'm good. I could still be destructive.
Right.
All of my friends were terribly destructive. They were like me. We didn't care if we lived or died. We were like, you know what? I'll probably drop dead. We just did not care. And we were very young, and our parents weren't watching us, et cetera, et cetera. And when I saw when I got the phone call that the funeral was on Wednesday, I thought, all right, I got to take a look at my life. Like, well, first of all, I got in a terrible depression and I went to work at a place called The Famous Deli where I met my friend Robbie Ann McPherson. Yeah, it was that year that I met you that I stopped and said, oh, this isn't just fun and games.
Mm-hmm.
People around us would die and commit suicide and accidentally do something stupid. There was always something happening. But when my good friend took too much of a substance and she was no longer with us, it just rocked me. I thought, all right, and I had a dream, and she kind of came to me in a dream, and she said, I'm happy I met you on this journey. And in the dream, we were going really fast around these curves in a car. And in the dream, I kept telling her, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I kind of got this message, I'm happy I met you on my journey. She had a little journey. She met me in it. And I don't know where she went, but it started tripping me out. Where did she go? She's not here. I can't call her. Where did she go? So that started to bother me. And then I started looking around, at some of the waitresses. Wait, this one's about to have a baby. Gosh, what am I gonna do here? Am I planning on having a family? Do I want a career? I started thinking about it then. So what got me out of it, what got me in was the music and MTV, and what got me out was reality. It took a death of a friend, might have been a suicide, not sure. Took a death of a friend to say, all right, that's enough.
Wow. That's so powerful, Aim. Like, I feel like this is the Dr. Phil episode of Glitter Boom Girls,
Is it really?
But
oh, sorry, it's a little dark, but
no, but I was just going to say, because if you ask me that question, I have a similar answer,
So what is yours?
The thing that spun me, and I did not go down that dark a hole, but I just was floundering and not advancing, in life. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, everything. I had things I wanted to do. I had no idea how to get from A to B. It was such
don't we all go through that? Do you feel like, don't you feel like, were you in your 20s?
I don't know. Listen,
I honestly feel like everybody did that.
I was in my late teens, early 20s, but I'm telling you, I'm looking around at all the perfect turtleneck girls, and they are on their way.
So what did those girls end up doing? Like, what was...
Oh, they all graduated from, the Cornells and NYUs and Ithacas of the world. And I'm just like, I was like a Weeble or something, right? Where somebody just knocked me and I was like, wow, 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 just going back and forth. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. Or like a wind-up toy bumping into walls.
But you still went to college and got your degree. I feel like you're being hard on yourself.
Well, yeah, but it took me 8 years to get that degree.
Okay.
That's just it. I had, and again, same as you, I'm not going to blame my parents. I'm not going to blame anybody.
Right, of course.
I was of age and I could have figured it out. But I just think I didn't really, I think I didn't have a model to look at. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody saying, other than stupid stuff like looking at celebrities or whatever and thinking that somehow that was a life I wanted, when that's probably not even the life they have. It's all an illusion. So for me, my brother passed away when I was 23, and he committed suicide, and that absolutely broke me in half and shattered me into 1,000 pieces. And so in gluing all those pieces back together, I swear I spent like 5 years just sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by shattered pieces of me somehow, and just like gluing myself back together bit by bit. And in doing that, it was more like a splash of cold water. And it was more like someone said to me, the only one who's bumbling around here is you. The only one who is preventing your advancement is you. And if you don't have your shit together, it's because you don't have your shit together. So get your shit together.
That's clarity.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I don't want to get all crazy religious, but I got to credit God too, because I definitely made some better choices in developing a spiritual life. And so
same.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what your religion is, or your non-religion or whatever, if you have some type of belief system that gives you some guidelines about being, about taking responsibility for yourself, about being good to other people, about having a broadened sense of interests and, thinking about other people's welfare, not just yours. I think all those things, they can come from a lot of different belief systems, but it took a while and it was a slow process. It wasn't one moment. But after he passed away and our whole family just kind of had to rebuild, and such a painful time, and anyone listening, my heart goes out to you guys, and call suicide hotlines if you feel bad, and there's so much help available. You have to reach out. And that was really the catalyst for me. Was I sat there and I realized, oh my God, I am screwing up my life. Not anybody else. I am. And then I looked at my empty toolbox, and I was like, okay, I need tools. And then I started reaching out. I just started reaching out for help, therapy, mentors. I went back to my college, and I sat with my advisor who, Mel, hi Mel. I sat with him and I just said, what do I have to do to get out of here in a year?
Wow.
And he set it all up, and he was like, well, it's going to be tough, but if you really put your nose to the grindstone, you can do it. And I was like, I will do it. And I did. And I got a 4.0 both semesters. Like a 4.0.
I
know, that was never me. I was like, who am I? But it was it was a lot of different things. And so I guess we couldn't say that was a cultural shift, but
no, but I think there are things that, I don't want to say distract, but I think that there are so many things. If we were just in a box, things would be different. We're looking at different media and different distractions in our life. And sometimes they give you a great idea and you model yourself after it, even if it wasn't real. And sometimes you look at it completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're young and maybe in pain, or you just don't know any better, sometimes you fall for the smoke and mirrors versions of things, and you just go down a road that leads to nowhere, or it's a circle, like that's how I would describe my teens and my, high school graduation, early college. I was just walking in a circle, and I thought I was going somewhere, and it turned out, and then I'd find myself back at square one, like, oh God, really? Again? And
when you heard music from those clubs, or did it take you right back there when you heard like certain, or your dad's music?
Oh yeah. But music is so powerful, I think. And to me, I can use it to help me, and there are certain songs that I don't even want to listen to. Thinking
you just
back,
can't.
Yeah, because it's like, ugh, I don't even.
It's almost like a USB when I hear certain songs from my childhood, because my dad always had on the Beatles, Revolver, Rubber Soul, the White Album. He was always playing Blackbird on the guitar. When I hear those songs, it's like a little USB drive clicks into my soul and just fills it with this, like, oh, I used to be a kid and have a normal family. Certain songs.
Yeah, it's
like
a
downloads. USB of
pain,
right. Or happiness, but some of them I cannot hear.
It's like a thumb drive. Like it just pops in.
It's a little baby thumb drive. I'm like, can't do it. Can't listen to that. Changing the channel right now.
Yeah, sometimes I like listening to it, and sometimes I don't. There are some songs that I just can't listen to. It's way too painful grief-wise. Mm-hmm. But I liked the songs from when I was a little kid, all those 70s one-hit wonders, because those things culturally, I think those things woke me up as a little kid to the world. Like it sounds so silly that some, Billy, don't be a hero, is gonna like wake me up to the world.
Some Doobie Brothers and
yeah. But I would hear these songs on the radio, and I'd be like, "Who are these people? How did they do that? Where are they from? And what do they look like? And how did they write that song? And what does that mean?" And it would just it lit a real spark, I guess, in me being curious about everything. I wanted to know all about all this stuff. And that me too. Definitely pop music that did that to me, for sure.
And that's why MTV was such a party, as we were talking about before, because it presented so many categories of
Yes.
fashion, so many categories of music that we would have never been exposed to. Our fathers liked this certain type of music, a little bit of a difference in it, but suddenly I'm looking at Van Halen, Madonna, Prince, New Edition, Def
Right.
Leppard, and
Yeah,
they're
like
all completely different.
Dad was not listening to The Cure or Talking Heads or any of that new wave stuff that he couldn't even relate to that stuff.
Look at the categories of music and visuals we saw growing up from that station. That if anything got into our DNA, it was certainly MTV.
Yeah, I think MTV. I don't know how to describe how MTV scrambled my DNA, but it did for sure because there were bad things. Like all of a sudden, I didn't like my body anymore, and I didn't.
Ooh,
All of a
yes.
sudden, I felt like I was competing somehow with these adult pop stars.
Wow.
Who
Hmm.
it was such a weird thing, and of course I wasn't, but I was like, wow, I felt a lot of insecurities, and then on the flip side, um, I would see again like more things to be curious about and different artists and wow, who is that guy? He's from London. Wow, what's that all about? And and then I would get all excited and learn things and maybe it would take you down some rabbit hole because the songwriter says he was influenced by this book and that's how he wrote the record. And so then you go and you read the book and then you're like, wow, and other books by this
That's
author.
exactly how I did things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that way I think MTV was incredible because all of a sudden, like you said, we are exposed to all of these things that we never would have seen or heard of had it not been for that music channel. But with that, also came some of that smoke and mirrors stuff too, which just all of celebrity is kind of smoke and mirrors, I think. But oh my gosh, AIM.
Mm.
We have had quite a psychotherapy session, and I have
I
loved every
loved
minute of
it.
it.
I
I know,
loved it.
me too. I loved every minute of it, and we really love you listeners too, and we hear from you guys, and I especially want to hear from you guys about this. Like, let us know. Hit us up in our DMs on Twitter, Glitter Bee Girls, or Instagram, Glitter Bee Girls, and let us know what kind of shifts you had. Like, how do you relate to the things we talked about? I know lots of people in my personal life who feel like I do, and we do, and can relate to all this. So I'm sure that our friends out there are gonna respond. But before we go, let's end on a light note because this is like I need to go take a nap now. We got to ask the Magic 8 Ball a question.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to leave it up to you. What do you want to ask
Me?
it? Yeah.
Magic 8 Ball.
Oh, Magic 8 Ball.
If would Robbie's life be completely different if she never got the job at the Inferno? At the Inferno.
Oh my God, I'm scared of this question. Oh my
Just
God, I am
do it.
so terrified of this question. Well, wait a minute. Of course it would be different. You mean, would it be better?
Would Robbie's life be better if she never got the job at the Inferno?
Yeah, okay, let's see. Oh my God. Reply hazy. Try again.
Ooh, are you going to do it again?
No, I'm scared now. Okay.
Just do it.
No, we got to ask it for you.
All right.
Would Amy's life
Mm-hmm.
be better if what?
If I never have discovered Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction in 1987.
If Amy had never discovered Appetite for Destruction, if Amy had never welcomed herself to the jungle, would her life be better now? Man, I can't read it. Very definitely.
I don't disagree.
Right?
Yeah, I would have found a way.
No, wait. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It says very doubtful.
Very
It says very
doubtful.
doubtful.
That means I would have
Aim?
still chosen a bad path whether or not I found that album. That's
Well,
what that means.
no, but I mean, it's kind of goes with that whole like you are where you're meant to be, you know, and what is for you will not get by you, right?
Right.
I mean, it kind of goes
Okay.
along with that. So,
Thank you, Magic 8 Ball.
right? Thank you, Magic 8 Ball. Boy, this thing really gives me the creeps. You guys, if you go back and listen to the questions that we asked this thing, I mean, it is so creepy. Like, you know, I'm going to have to throw some holy water on it or something. Like, wow.
You sage that bitch, yeah.
Right. Sage. I gotta sage that bitch. All right. Well, we love you guys. I love you,
Guys,
Aim. Can I just say
I
that?
love you, Rob.
Right.
I give you a little huggy through the screen and the mic.
Right. I know. Huggy. And we want to thank you for listening today. We will see you guys. And, you know, just so you guys know, we're not making a habit of getting so heavy like that, you know. We are all
big deal. We were fine. Yes.
We are all
That was
about
just today.
we are all about the fun and stuff. But you know, these things need to be said. They need to be brought to light.
Sure.
Right? So,
I think so.
yeah, so we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Robbie
Bye.
McPherson on the East Coast.
And I'm Amy Asbury on the West Coast.
See ya.
Bye, guys.